Like that we can begin, I want to welcome each of you to the regular board meeting of the School District of Oconee County. Tonight is our second meeting this month, and it'll be our last one this month. But I am glad that all of you are here. It's nice to have a group, a crowd, and we appreciate you being with us. At this time, we'll have a moment of silence, and I ask you to join us if you would like to, please. Amen. And now I would ask you to stand with me as we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I ask each of you to look at the agenda. And are there any changes, additions, anything that you see that we need to change? All right. If not, then we will approve with no objection the agenda for the April 19th, 2021 regular board meeting. Now, public comment.
Yes, ma'am. We have Elizabeth Voss from Huey Elementary School Improvement Council.
Great.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Elizabeth Voss. I am representing the School Improvement Council for Huey Elementary. I am also a parent of 4 children, 2 of which have graduated from Huey long ago, and 2 of which are presently students at Huey. I'm an educator at Huey, and I grew up going to Huey. So I'm well vested in my concerns and advocacy for what we believe is best for our students and our school. So if you'll indulge me, because this letter is not just from me, it's from my committee, I'd appreciate being able to read it so I don't leave something out. And to accommodate all modalities, I thought you guys could have your visual and not just have to listen to me. It was the intent of last year's School Improvement Council to bring this up, but COVID happened. So here we are, 1 year later with the same dreams. We wanted to make you aware that we believe it is time to discuss a plan for a new facility designed to further prepare our students for success. Huey Elementary currently hovers around an enrollment of approximately 400 students. Our current facility is a sprawling campus of buildings built in the 1950s, some probably before that, and the 1980s. While these buildings have served us well for generations, they are limiting. Most classrooms have 4 primary outlets that host a plethora of power strips that accommodate the charging of one-to-one technological devices, among other things. While we utilize all of this equipment safely regarding all fire safety guidelines, it is limiting in classroom setup and use of space. We are a school who strives to integrate technology and STEAM principles into our everyday instruction, as evidenced on a daily basis, as well as our nearly 100% participation in the 2019 Take the Halls Challenge initiated by the SDOC Technology Department. We are striving to meet 21st century demands and prepare our students. We are creative and we are determined with our resources. But at times, the space or lack of space our facility provides limits us. The sprawling of our buildings also increases the number of entry points with multiple doors to the outside, making security more challenging. Students and teachers are challenged to build relationships while being segregated by a layout that pulls them apart. We form buddy classrooms with upper and lower level students in an effort to mentor and build community, but it can be limiting. Recently, we have experienced pretty major leaks, from failing heating and air units, a water heater, and roof perforation. All are fixed and were patched in a timely manner, but how long will they last, and for how many more years will we patch? We've run out of physical space to grow. We have added both a speech and a resource teacher, with one using an old storage room and the other sharing her counterpart's space. Rooms are being used for multiple purposes. Our part-time speech teacher shares her space with our science kit storage and a copier. Our stage, intended to showcase student performances, also stores physical education equipment, costumes and props, as well as PTA supplies. It is currently also hosting extra furniture and items removed from classrooms to make room for COVID protocols because there's no extra storage space to house those things. In a community here where school choice is supported and advocated, we feel it is important that each physical resource reflect the same nurture and growth as others. Most buildings in our Walhalla area are newer and shinier. We don't want new home buyers or industry to ever have the perception that our school educates in a time capsule. We want the community to see and know that our educators are current and cutting edge, and that our students are being prepared at all levels to the best of our ability to be ready to accomplish anything they set their mind to and to serve our world well. As an SIC committee compiled of community leaders, parents, teachers, and administrators, we believe it is our duty to advocate for the students and the staff that we are charged to serve. Our task is to provide our students with the academics, experiences, and relationships needed to support them in their growth as lifelong learners. We need a building that sends that same message. We are currently teaching in a modern technological era with interactive panels that are mounted to antique slate blackboards. That in itself is evidence of tremendous change. It's time to open discussions with our district on a specific plan of action that designs and implements a new facility known as Kiwi Elementary School. It should also be noted that it is not our desire to be combined into a monster school or a really huge campus. We believe the size of our population is perfect to continue to make the academic and social growth we feel necessary in education, especially when families are more fractured. And they look so different, with grandparents raising grandchildren and fractured families looking for balance and consistency. The continual gaps that are brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic reiterate the need for smaller, individualized environments that promote growth against all the odds stacked against this newest educational population. The smaller family school model built to nurture children's growth while building bridges within a community is the best approach for us. It is important that Kiwi Elementary remain an integral part of that Kiwi community in which it is nurtured well throughout community churches and businesses, mentor programs, swim programs, volunteer readers, etc. And it should be noted that our facility serves as an emergency hub for Duke Energy employees in case of a nuclear disaster. We house emergency equipment and shower facilities, which Duke checks and restocks quarterly. It seems only fitting that our new building placement be strategic in serving not only Kiwi students, but the community that vests itself in us well. We appreciate your time and your attention to this matter, and we look forward to sharing and discussions regarding it soon. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We do have, particularly at our retreat and at different times during the year, we have, and I'm sure Steve can speak to it better than I can, but we do have facility plans that, take care of the next 5 years, 10 years. And so I appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and we certainly will.
And we invite you all to
it.
come visit us when it's appropriate.
Okay.
And to set up a time that we could walk around and let you experience our school. Preferably whenever normal happens. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. All right. Is there any more public comment?
No, ma'am.
All right. We have two sets of minutes to approve tonight. The first one is the March 8th, 2021 work session minutes, and then the March 15th, 2021 regular board meeting minutes. Did anyone see anything that needs to be corrected or changed? All right. If not, then we will approve the minutes from March 8th, 2021 work session and March 15th, 2021 regular board meeting with no objection. All right, Dr. Thorsland.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick updates. Did want to update you on hiring season. Of course, it's that time of year that we're hiring many new employees, and it's been a really good year on a number of fronts. We filled most of our positions. We are struggling with bus drivers and custodians, and we're going to do the best we can to recruit employees in those two categories. We are kind of battling, I think, some of the funding that's available from COVID relief through the federal government. That makes it a little hard to compete for some of our lower wage jobs, but we're working hard in that area. Also wanted to remind you about graduation. Just you should be hearing from the high schools that are in your respective areas soon, but May the 29th at 8:30 in the morning. Of course, you'll want to be there a little bit earlier than that, but we're excited about that. We are going to open, you saw the news release, I think, that went out last week, but we're going to be able to give 8 tickets to our graduates, so double the number of attendees from what we had last year, and continue to do those at the stadium as opposed to Little John, at least for this year. And then just a couple of changes with some of our protocols with employees. We've had, of course, COVID leave in place that sunsetted with the federal government back around Christmas time. We've extended that, and we plan to extend that through the end of this school year. Just that's if someone actually contracts the virus, that they're allowed to have a certain number of days of leave without having to go against their personal leave or sick leave. However, now that all of our employees should be through the vaccination process, that all the employees that wanted it, we are going to have everyone come back on May 3rd. We did have some folks that, due to medical issues that were documented in our HR office, they have been working from home and doing virtual school, some different assignments from their homes, but we're going to bring everyone back on May 3rd at the latest. And then we were also doing something with our teachers. So if a teacher contracted COVID and they were going to be in isolation for 10 days, that was a long time to have a sub in the classroom, because it's just not, the instruction's just not as good when a teacher's not there. So we, with the technology available to us, we actually worked it out to where teachers could, now I guess if they contracted COVID, they weren't having leave counted against them, but if a family member did or something like that, they could actually teach virtually and just use half of a leave day as opposed to a full leave day. We're going to sunset that as well because our numbers are really down. We did have a couple of cases last week where we had to close a couple of classes, but for the most part, we see things starting to get back to normal. But we are going to keep the same protocols in place. Jennifer shared on a radio program that we called into this morning that we're going to keep our protocols in place for through the end of this school year as far as mask wearing and visitors and different things like that. That's not 100% popular with all of our families, but our principals, we did have a discussion just last week with the principals, and they're pretty adamant that we keep things status quo for the rest of this year as much as possible, with the intention of opening in August in a more normal school situation. So that's our hope, but it's been good. Things are progressing just like they should. We're into budget season, which you're going to hear about shortly, so we'll be working with County Council to get that established, and things are going, I think, as well as could be right now.
Good. Well, we certainly do appreciate the effort that everyone has made this year. It's been tough, and it's just been great to see our district in there the whole time. It really is good. All right, Ms. Moore.
You have at your place a handout that I prepared. It's a summary of the budget proposal for this coming up year. And so what I want to try to do is compare the FY21 year to the FY22 year and just explain the differences. And then we'll talk about how we got to those differences. So this first page is obviously revenue. The FY21 adopted is on the left-hand side. The changes, the first two lines in the adopted column are the local tax revenues. And if you'll remember, after we passed our budget in September, when the millage was set, County Council was very gracious, and they left our millage at our 116.5, even though the value of the mill had increased. So that provided us with $446,000 additional dollars potentially in our budget. I have included that in the FY22 budget. So there is an increase, but it's not a tax increase. It's just we did not revise our budget. It is the original budget, and so that's how I presented that. I did break out the fee in lieu. Normally I don't do that. It's just all included in the one big $48 million number. But so that it's a little clearer, I have subtracted that from the local tax revenue, and it's on a separate line. The only other difference in the first section is our Tier 3 money, and this is a number that we get from the Department of Revenue, so this is an estimate for what we are expecting to get for next year. So the total change in local taxes would be $549,661. But again, that's not a tax increase, it's just truing up from where we were last year to this year. In the second part, other local revenue, I just adjusted the interest. If you have any savings account or checking account, you know that the interest rates are at the bottom right now, and I don't expect that they'll change for next year, so I've just decreased that to a more reasonable number. The third section is state sources. The first two lines, 16 and 17, are based on what we are currently allocated. I don't have any updated information from the Department of Education. The other numbers, the fringe, the retiree insurance, the aid to classrooms, EFA, all of those are numbers that were projected by the South Carolina Department of Education based on the House and Ways Committee budget, which is the only one we have right now. And so you see that's good news too, $1.7 million increase from the current year. And that fourth section is money that we transfer, we get in a special revenue fund for a particular purpose, and we transfer all of that money into the general fund and use it in a similar way that it would be in those special revenue funds. Makes our accounting a little more efficient. And we do that every year. A little bit of an increase there. So, bottom line, our revenue and transfers from all sources, $106,523,265, and that is a total increase of $2.2 million in revenue. Questions?
I have a couple.
Okay.
How do we stand now on fee and lieu? What percentage do we get? Has that changed any, or are we getting less or more, or how's that working now?
There are some agreements on the books that are old, and we're getting just what we were getting before. Last year we talked to Ms. Hubbard. She said there were some that are coming in the future that we would not get any revenue from.
1%.
Is it 1%? But those are not on the books at this time.
Okay. The other question.
But the county council has, that is a change that has happened in the last 3 years maybe. That it used to be when the county would enter a fee in lieu agreement with and just for the public, a fee in lieu of tax is exactly what it sounds like. It's just changing what a large company who makes a big investment in our county, it changes their payment to the county from a tax to a fee. And that allows county council to disperse that fee on a different share as normal taxes. So when we pay our car taxes, for example, we write a check to the county government. The county government, based on the millage values, they have to allocate that money for our car tax a certain way. Well, if they enter a fee agreement with a large company, once that fee comes in, it doesn't have to be dispersed the same way taxes are. Historically in Oconee County, the fees were always distributed the same way taxes were. So it didn't matter whether it was a fee or a tax. It was just a way to give the company a small break in what they paid. But over the last 3 years or so, County Council has entered some fee agreements that by and large cut the school district out of the fees or significantly reduce the amount that we get from the fees. So that will, while Ms. Moore said a lot of those aren't on the books yet, they will be on the books soon. And we will see a reduction in revenues from fee and lieu. And I may be...
I don't think it means that what we're getting currently would change, but what we get from the future agreements would.
But as those,
yes.
So fee and lieu agreements are typically, 15 years, 20 years. So as those roll off and new ones come on, we're going to get less money because of the way they were structured.
The other question I have is the COVID-19 funds.
Yes, sir.
Are there restrictions on those, and if so, what are the restrictions?
Do you mean the funds that we haven't gotten yet?
That we haven't gotten, that we are supposed to get?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
We haven't, we have no more information than we had last time. I am going to a meeting tomorrow, and that is on the agenda, so I may have some more information when I get back tomorrow.
Thank you.
Anything else?
However, we can promise there'll be restrictions on that. Never gives
Don't know what they are.
You weren't expecting otherwise, were you?
Okay, so page 2, that's our expenditures. And you all know, majority, 90% of our expenditures are in people. So that's, you don't see a big change there, but I'll explain that in the next page. This does include 2-step increases from our current budget, because as you know, the legislature is going to have us pay the full step increase in June this year. So employees will get that one in, and then for next year, there's an additional one. So in these numbers, that's 2 steps. There's a 0.8% employer increase for employee health insurance. Most of the other changes are due to just changes to the school allocations because of the changes in enrollment. The big number that you see on line 17 that says contingency is $682,203. We have, that is really a surplus. We're going to put it in a contingency in the event that we need it, and it does balance our budget. So we have a decrease in expenditures of $205,499. So the third page is where the interesting stuff is. So you wonder how were we able to balance our budget? We made some cuts ourselves, or we were able to lower our expenditures. We've reallocated some positions. We've got computer enrollment, so that's 11 FTEs. So we're down $1 million in salaries from that. We are changing the work days for some instructional aides. Some of them work 182 days, some work 185 days. And we have determined that that's not working out quite the way we thought it would. And so this year we are changing 120 employees. That's a savings of $60,000 for the school district, but it does not affect the pay of those employees that we're changing this year. There will be some more in next year that will be changing also. And then the first round of CARES money, we added 4.5 special ed teachers. And we only had 1 year of that, so those 4.5 teachers are coming back into the general fund. So that is an add, $352,000. We made some salary adjustments in some departments, and to some teachers, and that's the next three numbers that you see. And then the last two numbers are the funds that we are using from the CARES Act to pay. We're going to pay interventionists that would help with learning loss. There are 24 employees that we will be paying that would have been paid in the general fund. They're going to be paid from the CARES Act. And then we, in the first round of the CARES funding, we paid 2 years for some of our instructional technology. So we have a 1-year reprieve on those expenses, and that's about $268,000. So all of that, net of that, is $2,641,000. So while the budget is balanced, it's only balanced because we have that $2 million from the CARES Act money that we can use for expenses that we normally have. So without that, we would still be at 1.3 deficit.
And without significant changes, those will be back next year, right?
Any questions?
So overall, I think this is a step in the right direction because our budget was $2.4 million in the red. This is, in all reality, a $1.3 million deficit. That is assuming no growth in the value of a mill. If the value of a mill grows, which we anticipate it does because typically it grows each year, that would reduce that deficit from 1.3 to something less than that. And then there are a couple of things that we're looking at where we think over the next year to 2 years we can be completely flat and have a balanced budget, and that timing will work out well because that's when we would have had to spend all the COVID money, or we anticipate having to have spent that. So that is helping us bridge the gap until we can get to a flat budget. That's maybe a good way to say it.
Anybody have any more questions right now? You know, I just want to remind you of the schedule that we're on. Going to ask for first reading approval tonight, and then this will be presented on May 4th to the County Council. Then again, we have a discussion on May 10th. We have the second reading approval on May 17th, and then our final reading approval will be on June 7th. So, you know, take it home, look at it, call Gloria, call Dr. Thorsland, ask questions. We have some time, but just to keep us on schedule, we are going to have to ask them for a first reading approval a little later on tonight. So if you have any questions, if you don't have them tonight and you get home and think about them, please call. All right. Thank you. That's a good explanation of that. All right, we do have several action items tonight. The first one is the approval of our district strategic plan renewal, and Ms. Simmons went over it very well with us last year. It's a lot of information. So did anybody, do you have anything more to add? I think we covered it really well last week in our work session.
Unless you all need me to review anything specific, I'd be happy to do that.
It's pages and pages, a lot of work. Anybody have any questions? All right, if not, then I ask for a motion to approve the district strategic plan renewal.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Now, the second thing that we have, second action is approval of the board meeting date change. On our schedule, we would like to move the board retreat to June 7th, and that was moved from July so we can get some goals approved earlier. And then also, we only have one meeting in July. I would like to move that from July 12th to July 19th. And I believe those were the only two changes.
Those were the two changes.
Okay. Anyone? All right, then I need a motion to approve the board meeting date changes that I just mentioned.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all right. All right, all in favor? Okay, thank you. And now, I need a motion to approve on first reading the FY22 general fund budget that was presented tonight.
So moved.
Okay, Dr. Sloan, second.
Second.
Okay. Again, this is just the first of many times that we'll approve this, so we'll have plenty of time for questions should they come up. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any more conversation on this? All right, all in favor? Okay, thank you. All right. Without objection, then, we will enter into executive session for personnel items, employment recommendations, and changes. There are none? Okay. Well, thank y'all for being here. This is the end of our regular board meeting. I appreciate all of y'all attending, and thank you for the information you shared, and hope you take something away from this tonight, but thank you for coming.
Thank you.